there's a name that still stops older farmers mid-sentence. Not John Deere, not Case, not Caterpillar, International Harvester. Say it to a 70-year-old farmer in Iowa and watch what happens to his face. Something shifts, not nostalgia exactly, something deeper than that. The way a man looks when you mention someone he respected who died too young, because that's exactly what International Harvester was to American agriculture. Not just a brand, not just a tractor company, a presence, a promise, a piece of American identity that ran so deep into the fabric of farm country that when it collapsed, and it did collapse completely in the early 1980s, the wound it left behind never fully healed. This is Farm Gear Pro. And today we're answering a question that deserves a real answer. Why did International Harvester own the hearts of American farmers the way no brand before or since has managed to do? What was it about that red machine and that white diamond logo that turned customers into something closer to believers? Because understanding why IH earned that loyalty is not just history, it's the blueprint for what agricultural equipment is supposed to be. And it's the measuring stick every brand in this industry is still being judged against in 2026, whether they know it or not. Pull up a chair. This one goes deep. Start at the beginning. Because the roots of International Harvester's hold on American farmers go back further than most people realize, and they go back to a specific moment in American agriculture that changed everything. The year is 1831. A 22-year-old Virginia farmer named Cyrus Hall McCormick builds a mechanical reaper that can cut grain faster than 5 men working with hand scythes, demonstrates it publicly in a field in Rockbridge County, Virginia. It works. That single invention, the mechanical reaper, is arguably the most consequential agricultural development in American history between the invention of the plow and the arrival of the tractor. Because before the reaper, the limiting factor on American grain production was not land, not seed, not weather. It was human arms, the speed at which grain could be cut by hand before it over-ripened and shattered to the ground. The reaper broke that limitation. One machine, one horse, one operator, replacing the labor of 5 men. On the expanding American frontier, where land was available faster than labor to work it, that mechanical advantage was not just useful, it was civilization-changing. McCormick moved his manufacturing to Chicago in 1847, built what became the largest reaper factory in the world, and began shipping machines to American farmers who understood, immediately, viscerally, that this equipment was the difference between feeding their families and not. That is the foundation. International Harvester's hold on American farmers was not built on marketing. It was built on a machine that changed what was possible on American ground. That legacy, 70 years of McCormick Reaper Trust before International Harvester even existed as a company, is the bedrock that everything else in this story sits on. In 1902, J.P. Morgan, the same financial architect behind U.S. Steel, orchestrated the merger of 5 major farm equipment manufacturers into a single entity: McCormick Harvesting Machine Company, Deering Harvester Company, Milwaukee Harvester Company, Plano Manufacturing Company. Warder, Bushnell and Glessner Company, International Harvester Corporation was born. The combined company controlled approximately 85% of the American grain harvesting equipment market at the moment of its founding. The federal government filed antitrust action almost immediately. International Harvester spent years navigating legal challenges to its market dominance. And yet, the farmers kept buying. Not because they had no choice, though competition was limited, but because the equipment worked, because the dealer was there, because the parts were available, because when something broke in the middle of harvest, the local IH dealer found a way to get the machine back running. That reliability of the dealer relationship, built county by county across rural America through the first half of the 20th century, is the second pillar of IH's hold on American farmers. John Deere had dealers, Case had dealers, every major equipment brand had dealers. But International Harvester built its dealer network around a philosophy that the farmer's time during planting and harvest was sacred, that a machine down during peak season was not a service call to be scheduled, it was an emergency to be solved. IH dealers who understood that philosophy earned a level of customer loyalty that went far beyond a commercial transaction. A farmer who watched his dealer drive out to his field on a Sunday evening with the part that saved his harvest. That farmer didn't think about brand alternatives the following spring. He walked straight to the ich lot. Now let's talk about the machines themselves, because IH didn't earn American hearts with nostalgia and service alone. The iron earned it. Through the mid-20th century, International Harvester's Farmall line of tractors defined what an American row crop tractor was supposed to be. The Farmall M, introduced in 1939 and produced through 1952, is widely considered one of the most important tractors in American agricultural history. Here's why that machine specifically mattered. The Farmall M produced 36 horsepower at the belt and 33 at the drawbar. Strong numbers for its era. But the power output was not what made it legendary. The architecture was. The Farmall's tricycle-style narrow front end and high clearance let it straddle 2 rows of corn, something previous tractor designs couldn't accomplish cleanly. The cultivator mounts integrated directly into the tractor frame, rather than being awkward bolt-on afterthoughts. The operator position gave visibility down both sides of the row. For a corn farmer, which in the Corn Belt meant most farmers, the Farmall M was not just a more capable tractor than what came before. It was a machine designed around how corn farming actually worked. Built by people who understood the specific demands of American row crop agriculture from the inside. That design philosophy, building for the actual conditions of American farm work rather than building a generic machine and marketing it to farmers, is what separated IH's best machines from their competitors across multiple generations of product development. The tractor that cemented IH's emotional hold on a specific generation of American farmers came decades later. And it came in red. The International Harvester 1066, introduced in 1971, turbo diesel, 125 horsepower, and a design that was, for its time, in its price class, for the work it was being asked to do, about as right as a tractor gets. The 1066 and its siblings, the 966, the 1466, the 1566, represented IH at its engineering peak. These were machines that operators trusted with everything, planted behind, combined behind, pulled the heaviest tillage implements their operations required. More than that, they were machines that operators could understand mechanically, could diagnose, could repair with the tools in the shop and the knowledge in their heads. No proprietary software, no dealer-gated diagnostic. The machine was open to the people operating it in a way that built a specific kind of confidence and ownership. The operator who knows his machine, who has been inside it, who understands what every sound means and what every symptom indicates. That operator trusts his machine at a level that goes beyond brand preference. It becomes part of how he thinks about his own competence. IH Tractors built that relationship with their operators through multiple generations of American farm families. And that relationship is specifically why the loss of the company hit so hard. Right here. If Farm Gear Pro is giving you the full picture on why this brand mattered the way it did, and why that matters for understanding American agriculture in 2026, like this video, share it with someone who runs Old Red Iron and has never heard the full story, and subscribe to Farm Gear Pro. We cover the history, the engineering, and the financial reality of American farm equipment every single week. Subscribe and stay with us. Now let's talk about the full product breadth. Because most people think of IH as a tractor company and miss 3/4 of what made it irreplaceable to American farmers. International Harvester at its peak was not a tractor company. It was an agricultural civilization infrastructure company. Tractors, the Farmall line through the 06, 56, 66, and 86 series. Complete coverage from small utility machines to the largest row crop platforms. Combines. The International Harvester combine line competed directly with John Deere across every class of grain harvesting equipment. The 1460, 1480, 1680 combines were serious machines that operators in the Corn Belt and wheat country ran for decades. Trucks. The International Truck line was one of the most significant commercial vehicle brands in American history. IH trucks worked on farms, in construction, in logging, in municipal fleets. A farmer who ran an IH tractor often ran an IH truck to haul grain. The brand integration across the farm operation created a loyalty ecosystem that no other equipment manufacturer matched. Construction equipment, the IH crawler line, the payloaders, the motor graders, served farmers who did their own earth moving, built their own ponds, maintained their own roads. And the implements, planters, tillage tools, combines heads, forage equipment, all bearing the IH name, all designed to work with IH tractors, all sold through IH dealers who knew the full product line. When a farmer's tractor, truck, combine, planter, and tillage tools all came from the same company, from a dealer he'd done business with for 20 years, that was not a vendor relationship. That was an operating partnership that ran through every part of his farming year. That's what International Harvester was, and that's what the farmers who ran it lost when it collapsed. The generational transfer of loyalty deserves specific attention, because this is the mechanism through which IH's hold on American farming became something that operated almost independently of rational brand evaluation. A farmer in 1950 whose father had bought a McCormick Reaper in 1890 and an early Farmall in the 1930s did not walk onto an equipment lot and comparison shop IH against John Deere as if both were equivalent options. The IH dealer had been there for his family across 3 generations of farming. The brand had not failed them, the machines had worked. His son watched him buy red. Rode on the fender of the red tractor as a kid, learned to drive on the red tractor as a teenager. Fixed the red tractor alongside his father on Saturday mornings in the shop. By the time that son was making his own equipment decisions in the 1960s and 1970s, he wasn't choosing IH rationally. He was continuing a relationship that predated his own farming career. That is a level of brand equity that cannot be created by marketing. It can only be earned over generations of performance and reliability, and then inherited by the sons and daughters who grew up inside it. John Deere has this with their customer base. Case IH still carries echoes of it from the IH legacy they absorbed. But International Harvester built the original template for what generational equipment loyalty in American agriculture looks like. The emotional peak of IH's relationship with American farmers runs through the 1970s, specifically through the machines the company built in that decade for the operators who were expanding their operations on the back of strong commodity prices and rising land values. The 1086, the 1486, the 1586, these were the machines that equipped a generation of Corn Belt farmers who were farming bigger, planting more acres, and needing more power to do it. The 1086, 131 horsepower turbocharged diesel, black stripe cab, one of the most recognizable tractor designs in American agricultural history, became the machine that a specific generation of American farmers associate with the most productive and optimistic period of their farming lives. The late 1970s were good years for a lot of American farmers. Crop prices were strong, land values were rising. The future felt like it was expanding in every direction. And the machine sitting in the shed during those years, for hundreds of thousands of operators across the Corn Belt, was a red IH tractor. That association between the best years of a farmer's career and the machine that was there for those years is not a logical connection. It's an emotional one. And emotional connections to equipment run deeper and last longer than any rational brand preference ever could. That's why I ruled the hearts of American farmers. Not because it was always the objectively superior machine on every specification, but because it was there during the years that mattered most, built from a legacy that went back to the moment American agriculture became mechanically possible. And it earned its place through performance that delivered across generations. The dealer network specifically, because this is where IH's relationship with farmers operated at the most personal and durable level. At its peak, International Harvester's dealer network was one of the most extensive in American agricultural equipment history. Small towns across farm country had IH dealers the way they had grain elevators and feed stores, as infrastructure, not as a retail option. These were not chain locations managed from a regional office, they were family businesses. Father-son operations, where the man behind the parts counter knew which field you were trying to get into this week, knew what your soil did when it stayed wet too long, knew that you ran your IH hard and maintained it carefully and deserved a dealer who matched that standard. That personal dealer relationship, multiplied across thousands of communities, across the American agricultural landscape, created a service and support infrastructure that functioned as an extension of the farm operation itself. When that network began to unravel during IH's financial collapse in the early 1980s, when dealers started making contingency plans, when parts availability became uncertain, when the confidence that the company would be there next year started to crack, the farmers felt it before the financial news confirmed it. Trust in an equipment brand is built locally. One dealer relationship, one repair call answered on time, one harvest saved by a parts man who stayed late. And trust breaks the same way. Locally, personally, when the person you depended on is no longer there. Now here's what makes this history directly relevant to 2026, because Farm Gear Pro doesn't cover history for nostalgia's sake. Every element of what International Harvester built, every mechanism through which it earned the irreplaceable loyalty of American farmers, is a lesson that current equipment manufacturers are either learning from or ignoring right now. The generational trust built through consistent performance across decades. The dealer relationship that operated as a genuine partnership with the farm operation. The machine design that reflected deep understanding of actual American farm conditions. The product breadth that integrated across every major aspect of the farming year. The service culture that treated a machine down during harvest as an emergency, not a service call. These are not complicated principles. They're not technologically advanced. They don't require a precision agriculture software platform or an autonomous tractor demonstration at a trade show. They require showing up, consistently, over time, with equipment that works and people behind it who understand what's at stake when it doesn't. International Harvester did that for 80 years. Built a loyalty so deep, it survived a financial collapse that should have destroyed it. Because Case IH, the brand that emerged from the wreckage, still carries IH loyalty on certain farms 4 decades after the original company ceased to exist. That is the durability of what was built. And that is the standard against which every equipment brand in 2026 is being measured, by farmers who may not say it out loud, but know it in their bones every time they pull into a dealer lot and feel like a number instead of a customer. The bottom line on why International Harvester owned American farming hearts. It started with a reaper in 1831 that made the impossible possible. It grew through 5 generations of machines that were designed for American conditions by people who understood American farming. It was maintained by a dealer network that operated as partners, not vendors. It was transferred from father to son, across generations of farm families who associated the red machine with the best years of their agricultural lives. And it was lost. Not because the machine stopped working, not because the farmers stopped valuing it, but because the financial structure behind it couldn't survive the collision of a 172-day strike, aggressive debt at 20% interest rates, and the worst agricultural recession in a generation. The machines are still out there, still working, still showing up on auction lots where bidders who never drove one want to know what all the fuss was about. The fuss was about what it means when an equipment manufacturer genuinely earns its place in an American farm operation across generations, and what it costs every farmer and every farming community when that relationship is broken by forces that had nothing to do with the quality of the iron. That's the International Harvester story. And in 2026, it is more relevant than it has been at any point since the day the company closed its doors. Thanks for watching Farm Gear Pro. If you found this breakdown valuable, share it with a fellow farmer and comment below your thoughts on this topic. See you in the next one.